Welcome to Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. My name is Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul. For the second time in 107 podcasts, I have a moment of writer's block. It is weird because my mind is always alive with ideas, but the key word is block. That's the only way I can describe it. So I did what I did last time. I picked one of my 21 journals and opened it up to see what inspiration pops out at me. I chose journal number 17 from 2021. And from page 36, I reread my brother Pete's The Mr. Magoo Hypothesis, which means we see what we want to see or imagine that we see because of our mental nearsightedness. Mr. Magoo was a cartoon character made famous in the 1960s. He was very nearsighted and fabricated a world based upon only what he sees. I loved watching Mr. Magoo cartoons when I was a kid. My dad's nickname for me was Mrs. Magoo. Wonder what that was about. But we often do this when we interpret things based on our past experiences and current knowledge, don't we? We may often be like Mr. Magoo, making an assumption of what something is based on our perspective. And the dangerous thing is, our perspective is often linked to our experience with something or someone. One experience can cause us to assume that someone always has a certain expectation of us. Our conversations with someone can make us cautious because of the knowledge we have as to one's expectations of others. And ultimately, we all fear disappointing others. In her book, Atlas of the Heart Mapping Meaningful Connections in the Language of Human Experience, Brene Brown defines disappointment as unmet expectations. She states the more significant the expectations, the more significant the disappointment. Her research shows that we often consciously or unconsciously set expectations of ourselves in response to our perceived expectations of others, or we set our own expectations of others. We do this often because we are closest to the people we do it to. She goes on to say that we paint a picture in our head of how things are going to be and how they're going to look. Those expectations and disappointments can take a toll on our relationships and self worth. Often we harbor anger and hurt, trying to live up to unsaid expectations or judging others by the standards of our expectations. And finally, Brown tells us that unexamined and unexpressed expectations can also lead to serious disappointments in our relationships with families, among friends, and at our workplace. It's so similar to judging. Just take a moment to think of whose or what kind of expectations put the most pressure on us. For me, it is when I go out to speak or do a presentation. I absolutely love speaking, but afterwards, I'm hard on myself, wondering if I met the expectations of the audience or my contact people. Like Brene Brown said, we paint pictures of how we think something should be. So for me, I'm dependent on the verbal or facial responses to assure me that I did not disappoint. I also fear that I never give the gifts that are extravagant or cool enough in the eyes of the receiver. So, what is it for you? What brings you angst in terms of what we think others expect or who we fear disappointing? I love the old Hebrew tale that I found in a collection by William R. White. It's about a vine who felt so appreciated by people who came to pick grapes from it. No one ever said thank you. So one day, when a priest sat under the vine for a rest, the vine took the opportunity to share his feelings. He said to the priest, "As you can see, I'm a vine. Young men and old women come and pick grapes from my vines every day, and no one ever takes time to thank me. How can people be so inconsiderate?" Well, the priest pondered a bit and then said, "Perhaps people are insensitive and lack gratitude, but could it be for another reason? Just as we expect the sun to shine and the wind to blow, so people expect grapes from a vine. Mm, They most likely are under the impression that providing grapes is your duty." Hmm, Interesting, isn't it? When it comes to expectations, we all have perspectives of what is expected. The outcomes can cause disappointment or hurt or surprise or joy. It's wise to remember that when it comes to expectations, communication is the thing that will determine the effect expectations have on us. Communication is the thing we can most easily control. It's like the vine and Mr. Magoo. We must remind ourselves that expectations are perspectives seen from the inside. Till we talk about them, we are tap dancing without a floor. Oh, wow. I just made that one up. So this week on your bathroom mirror, write communicate about expectations or dance without a floor. Join me next Monday for Live Life Inspired Views for Every Day. I'm Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul.